Good morning, everybody. This is Ingwe Immigration's live question answer period for May 25th, 2021. We're here to answer all your questions on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. The way it works is you post your comments or basically your questions in the comments box. We take a look at it and we will answer your questions related to Canadian immigration, whether it's study permits, spousal sponsorships, business immigration, international student admissions, skilled worker streams, provincial nominee programs, or whatnot. Any type of immigration related questions you can post here and we'd be happy to answer you. We have two questions that were sent to us previously through email, and many people ask this question. One of the questions is whether overseas studies, that means distance learning, is counted as bonus points with express entry. So many international students are asking, during COVID, they've been studying most of 2020 overseas, like remotely, although they have a valid study permit and they have they're studying at a designated learning institution, which basically means a Canadian post-secondary college, university, vocational school. So one of the key points that the Canadian immigration regulation says is that you cannot do distance learning, okay, to gain bonus points for education. It does count as education, but not as Canadian bonus points. So the 15 points that is given as, let's say if you do a 1 or 2 year degree, or a 30 points for the master's or professional degrees in Canada, you cannot claim those if you did distance learning, but it does count as an educational degree. Okay, so that's one of the questions that many people had, especially international students studying overseas. So if you have any questions, post them in the comment section here, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, and we'd be happy to answer. Another important question many people ask us is about express entry points. So if they're outside of Canada or if they're inside. As everybody knows or doesn't know, last week, May 20th, the express entry points came to, the last draw was 397 points. So it was the first time after February this year that it dropped below 400 points for Canadian experience class. If you don't know what Canadian experience class is, it's for people who have a minimum of 1 year eligible Canadian work experience. You can be inside or outside of Canada when you apply for express entry, but you should have been working in Canada at some point in the last 3 years with eligible work experience equal to 1 year. So those applicants got a chance to be selected if they had a minimum of 397 points. And what many people are asking us is, hey, Reza, hey, Ingwe Immigration, will the points drop? And I told everybody, yes, we expect it to continue to drop, but up to what point? Well, that's the $1 million question. We don't know if it's going to ever go back to that original 70. It will drop to below 397. I believe it will. Yes. Will there be a new program? Did you miss the new TR to PR pathway for international workers and international graduates who are inside of Canada? Well, we believe there will be, maybe there will be an opportunity for you to apply sometime this year. Maybe there's an extension of a policy. Maybe we'll see another policy similar to that reopen, but in a different variation. The key points are you need to have your language exam scores ready. You need to have your documents ready, depending on your stream, right? Whether it's the international worker stream or international students, whether you're looking at provincial nominee programs, whether you're looking at express entry. The point is you have to be ready at any point that if there's a new program announced by the government, you should be able to apply, right? So if you're gaining your work experience or you don't have your language exam, these are the important points. And everybody, the way it works, if this is your first time, you need to post your question here in the comment section and we'd be happy to answer. Okay, so we have Daniela from our office watching too. So Daniela, if there's any questions your clients have or any people you're in touch with, please post and we'd be happy to answer them live. And take advantage of this, everybody. We do charge for immigration, but on Tuesdays, 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Standard Eastern Time, North America, we answer everybody's questions live on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Um, just because, you know, if you have one or two questions, what's the point of paying $250 to a lawyer or immigration consultant to answer that one question, or you just have a doubt, right? If you need a full profile consultation, well, that's different. It's difficult to do that in the public here on a live stream. But if you do have questions regarding Canadian immigration, whether you want to come here as a student, as a worker, as a sponsored family member, please do ask your questions and we'd be happy to help. What is the fastest way to become a PR? So my colleague Daniela is asking that question on our Facebook. Um, and the fastest way to become a PR is very difficult. If you're at between the age of 19 to 29 and your English or French is really good and you can take the exams, whether it's TEF, TCF, or IELTS or CELPIP, um, and you have work experience overseas and you have 2 degrees like a master's or a professional degree, let's say you're a pharmacist, you're a doctor, you're a dentist, or you just have an MBA, right? As long as the credential assessment is correct, then express entry would be your best way. We don't expect anybody this year to be selected from overseas through express entry, but we do expect next year to be very active. You never know at the end of this year if the COVID situation improves, if the vaccinations improve, there may be a chance for selection through express entry for overseas applicants. There's so many applicants waiting. Over 160,000 applicants are in the express entry pool, and this number probably is increasing weekly. I haven't checked lately, but the point is, if you're inside of Canada, make sure you have your language score and make sure you're getting Canadian work experience. If you're a student, then make sure you graduate successfully so you can be eligible for PR programs. So that's my 2 cents. That's my advice to anybody who is inside or outside of Canada. And if you're not, and if you're outside of Canada and you're like, you don't have that perfect profile that the Canadian immigration is looking for an express entry, well, I don't have that perfect profile too. So if they kick me out and I have to reapply again, I probably wouldn't be able to come back. I'd probably move somewhere else because that perfect profile for overseas applicants is very, very difficult, right? Nobody has that perfect age or that. Well, some people do. Good for them, right? But if you don't, then come over and probably study. A lot of people go to colleges and pay $17,000 or $16,000. Don't do that. Don't burn your money, folks. There are colleges, public colleges, where you're eligible for a work permit after that are approximately $9,500 per year, so 2 semesters. You can work part-time while you're studying. You can work full-time while you're in an academic holiday, not languages, but if you're in an academic program. So why would you go to the major cities and pay $16,000, $17,000 unless you're doing a master's program, right? If you're doing a master's program, then good for you because that will give you better access to PR programs, provincial level, better points, and it's eligible for a 3-year postgraduate work permit. But if you're looking to come and study because you don't have that perfect immigration profile, you want to enter Canada, well, look at which provinces you want to go, what program. I don't recommend studying a 1-year program unless it's a master's. And again, don't waste your money on $16,000, $17,000 colleges. Okay, if you have money to burn, please send it to me. We'd be happy to spend it for you. Okay. If you have 17,000, you don't, and if you have an extra $6,000 and you want to burn it or flush it down the toilet, don't do that. Okay. Send it over. I'm sure there's so many people with $7,000. What can you do? You can probably buy a secondhand car. You could probably put a down payment on a condo, right? I mean, you could buy probably 6 iPhones or 5 iPhones that are like iPhone 11 or 12, the new ones. I mean, come on, folks. You can probably pay for 6 months rent if you're, if you have a roommate. You're not in Toronto or Vancouver because rents are super expensive. So we have a question here from Lorena Chile. I wonder if she's from Chile. I don't know. Hello. Thank you for your time. I'm 34 and my husband is 41. So which will be the best province to study and in a future apply for residency? Okay. So Lorena, great question. This is something that everybody asks. What is the best province to go to study as an international student and then later apply for your permanent residency? If you're planning to do college, then I would say Saskatchewan or any of the Atlantic provinces. Atlantic provinces means New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, or Newfoundland. I know some of these provinces, they have, not very easy names to pronounce. That would be good for college because one, there's more job opportunities and the provincial programs are very competitive. Right? So if you're in the Atlantic, you're eligible for the Atlantic Immigration Pilot. You're eligible for each provincial program in that province. You're eligible for any new federal programs, and you're eligible for express entry. If you study in BC or Ontario, let's say, you're only eligible for express entry in the provincial nominee programs, unless you're going to the rural regions. If you're willing to live in a very small town, relatively cold, in rural areas in Ontario, 3, 4, 5 hours drive from Toronto, or even in BC, then those are also good. If you're planning to do masters or university, then I would say BC is an excellent if it's a science-based program. But if you're doing a master's, like an MBA, then I would recommend Ontario. If you're looking at specific IT-related masters, then potentially Newfoundland. Why am I saying that? Is because you could be eligible for direct permanent residency after you graduate. Okay, so that's my advice. The best provinces for international students, if they're not thinking about masters, is Saskatchewan, very cold. Okay, don't blame me if you go there. Nova Scotia, one of my favorite provinces, folks. New Brunswick and Newfoundland. Then I would say Manitoba. I would say if you're not studying masters, if you're not in the IT sector, then BC would be one of the worst provinces. Quebec, if you don't know French, avoid it. And Ontario, it's not the greatest. It's tough unless you're in the rural programs, okay? We have another question here from Raul Andre. Okay, I hope I pronounced that name right. Hello, I need to improve my English to take TOEFL test. What do you recommend for me? Well, Raul, I would say that if you're planning to come to Canada with your TOEFL or IELTS, then there's specific programs to train you and to improve your TOEFL, which can be taken. You have two options, Raul, okay? So one is in your home country, there has to be language institutions, right? You can do that because probably it'll be quite cost effective. But there's a lot of programs with our partner schools now, okay, where they're training people and preparing their English to continue at colleges and universities in Canada. So we call them pathway partners, right? So you can be studying overseas remotely online from your home, right? And you can be improving to prepare for TOEFL or IELTS. So it really depends what your ultimate goal is, Raul. If you're planning to apply for university or college in Canada, then yes, I would recommend working with one of these language schools that we have here to get specific programs to improve your TOEFL or IELTS, or do a pathway. right? So you don't even need to do a TOEFL to get an admission to a school. You can come and improve it. Let's say you do 4 months, 5 months language, and the language schools have really reduced their prices during COVID. Why? Is because there's less students. So it's a good deal. Either way, I would say look at your home country options, look at the options here. If you need help, we have our education manager who will be happy to help you and to select schools and programs. And we don't just have one school partner, we have hundreds, right? So we don't try to push one to you because, let's say that we have a financial advantage with them, but we give you options, we give you the cost, you make the decision. That's the difference, folks. You should be in the decision making seat. So I hope that kind of answers your question. If you have a follow-up question specifically on your case, just post it here. We're happy to help. So Amir Rahim Far is asking, hi, when can I upload medical exam for TR to PR in international graduate stream? I submitted the May 6th, in May 6th, but I booked for it. Okay, what you can do, Amir Rahim, is you have two options. One is wait for them to request it for you. Another option is to send them a web form through the IRCC portal. If somebody doesn't know in our viewers what IRCC is, it basically means Canadian Immigration Department. The abbreviation is Immigration, Refugees, Citizenship Canada. So Amir, you can either wait for them to send a letter or go to a web form on the IRCC portal. You can just search Google IRCC web form, fill it out, attach it, send it, take snapshots, screenshots, because you don't have proof of it when you submit it. And just be like, I submitted, this is my UCI number, this is my medical. I already uploaded the appointment confirmation on May 6th and I applied under this stream. So give specifics plus that medical, but I'm pretty sure they're still gonna send you a letter later on asking for that, okay? Because sometimes, and that's a reality, the government is disorganized. I don't blame them, but it's a reality, okay? So imagine you have a disorganized government trying to process hundreds of thousands of applications for PR. I wouldn't even be able to do it, okay? So what other questions do we have, folks? Any questions? Gulmehak is there. How are you? So we have another question on our Instagram. So I'm just reading the questions so our viewers on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram know what the question is if they don't see the comment themselves. Good morning. Thanks for your time. No problem. I have a question. I'm 31 years old and I'm an accountant in my country. Do you recommend, I'm an accountant in my country. Do you recommend, I was thinking moving to New Brunswick and to study a program? How? Yeah, so you have a pretty good age. I wish I was 31. You're an accountant, which is good. If you're employed and if you can show to the Canadian government that you have the money to pay for the college or university in Canada, then you should be able to come and study. So you need a study permit, right? And you need language. Your language seems pretty good. If you don't have the language score exam, you can do the pathway, what I just described to our previous viewer. So we can bring you in a pathway, or you can do it yourself. I mean, you don't have to work with anybody. That's your option. We bring in you through a language pathway program. You start the English, right? And after several months, when your English is at that level, which is required for the college or university, you move on to that college or academic program. You do not necessarily need the IELTS. If you do, you have IELTS, TOEFL, or sometimes they accept Duolingo. Sometimes, but not all the time. Don't count on it. Then you can apply directly to the school and start getting the letter of acceptance, then your study permit application to come to Canada to study, right? So right now, everybody's applying for January. So you need to apply quickly. So if you're looking at some programs for January 2022, you need to apply ASAP, so as soon as possible, because the programs fill very quickly, Okay. But if you're an accountant, there's so many programs you can study related to accounting, or something else that's interesting for you. It could be business analytics, it could be marketing, it could be a change of subject. You don't necessarily need to study something specific to finance or accounting, but if you like to, yes. Sometimes people have a degree, but their career is very different. We had clients who, let's say, they studied business, but they're working and they have their own restaurant, or they're cooking as a profession, and they want to continue into that education stream. Well, that's possible too. So Lorena again, okay, no worries. We have 4 children between 15 and 2 years. Does that affect the score? No, it doesn't, Lorena. So you could have 20 children. It will never penalize you, like give you less points for immigration purposes, because you know what? Here's a fact, everybody. If you, let's say, if you need to remember one thing out of this entire session, is that Canada loves children. Okay, imagine Canada being your, grandparents. They love children, right? Because there's a lack of young population in Canada. The population growth here has a problem. They need families. Okay, so you will never have a disadvantage as having 4 children. Good for you. Okay, my congratulations. I wish everybody had 4 children. Most of Canada's problems would be resolved. Okay, so don't worry about that. You're thinking about, we were watching Alberta and Saskatchewan. Alberta is not bad, but Saskatchewan is 10 times better in terms of immigration programs than Alberta. That's a fact. But in terms of life, Alberta, the weather is better. It's closer to BC. There's, nicer options. Saskatchewan, not a nice place to live unless you have some family members. Okay. So you can make that decision yourself. I'm not going to push you to go to somewhere where you don't like, but yeah, Saskatchewan much better than Alberta. Alberta is okay, but it's not my favorite for immigration. It's really nice, Calgary and all these other places, Edmonton. So Cora Zim is asking questions. So if the intention is to do a master's degree in IT or business, it's better to choose Newfoundland, in your opinion? Not necessarily. So if you're doing an MBA business, I would say Ontario, because the other 2 provinces, Newfoundland, BC, don't recognize that master's for direct PR stream. You can still study, get your work permit, and try the skilled immigration streams, but it won't give you that access to direct PR. In Ontario, you can be eligible for the graduate stream provincial nominee program. It's a points-based system which prioritizes graduate students for masters and PhDs. And it doesn't matter if you study business, IT, or HR, or anything else. In BC, it's science-based master's program, which are eligible. In Newfoundland, it's IT. I think there's 3 other subjects, but not business. Okay. So depending on your profile, what we would do is select the best program for your profile to make it easier for PR. Okay. So that's my feedback on that. So Amir Rahim Famir says, but in the web form, there's no option for TR to PR. That's fine. Select the one that is closest to it, because TR to PR, Amir Famir, is a very new program. It's a temporary program. So you just have to pick something that's close to it. Okay, so they won't have that option there. That's fine. If you really want to apply and upload your medical form now, you'll do it, but they will anyway send a letter to you, so you can do both. Okay, don't worry on the fact that the web form doesn't have that option. I'm sorry for the questions. Was, do you recommend 1 or 2 year in college? Oh, this is Yadi's Fair, right? Yadi's Fair was asking about, she's an accountant. I'm 31 and she wants to study. I recommend a 2-year program. Okay, fact. I do not recommend a 1-year program unless you are doing a master's or a higher graduate level university program. Let's see what are the questions we have. We'll be back here, by the way, everybody, by 5 p.m. today, Standard Eastern Time. Okay, so right now it's 9:25. We're going to wrap up. I hope I've answered everybody's questions. Again, remember, we're here Tuesday, every Tuesday, 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. North American Eastern Standard Time, which is basically East Coast time. We're here to answer all your questions. We're here to help. If you have follow-up questions, you can always send it to us through our website or Instagram, and we will be back here again 5 p.m. today. Okay, thank you for everybody watching. I hope I've been able to answer and help and guide everybody with their questions regarding Canadian immigration. Again, we're live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram every Tuesday. And remember, immigration changes immediately. So tomorrow morning we wake up, the rules change. So whatever advice I've given today is valid for today only. Okay, take care, everybody. Nice to see everybody online again, some of our regular clients.